She appeared from nowhere, a shy woman with a gentle smile and unsteady feet. On April 11, 2009, Susan Boyle took the world by storm with her audition on Britain's Got Talent. When she opened her mouth and sang, "I Dreamed a Dream," the auditorium fell silent, time seemed to stall, and viewers from every continent pressed pause on their lives to watch her transformation. A moment later, as the final note soared, that silence exploded into thunderous applause. Simon Cowell, the nation's toughest judge, was on his feet with tears in his eyes. She had done something miraculous. Overnight, Susan Boyle went from an obscure spinster living with her sister in small-town Scotland to the voice of a generation. But that was 16 years ago. Now, in 2025, the question millions still ask is simple yet compelling: where is Susan Boyle now? Between that seismic debut and today, Boyle's journey has twisted through record-breaking album sales, prime-time television specials, health scares, and the quiet corners of her hometown. She released her first album just weeks after the audition. It debuted at #1 in the UK with over 400,000 copies sold in its opening week, at the time the fastest-selling debut album in British history. Her follow-up records and seasonal compilations continued to dominate charts across 3 continents. Viewers who first saw that lone woman in glasses transform into a powerhouse vocalist were hooked. But although fame poured in, it did not flood every part of her life with ease. Behind the platinum plaques lay personal challenges few fans suspected. Shortly after conquering music charts, Boyle ventured into television specials that aired during holiday seasons, unleashing her warm soprano on Christmas classics from Silent Night to Hallelujah. Each appearance reminded audiences of her upward arc, reinforcing the narrative of the underdog who never gave up. Yet behind the festive lights and camera lenses lay difficult decisions about health and privacy. In 2013, at age 52, Susan disclosed that she had been tested for Asperger's syndrome, shedding a new light on her lifelong struggles with social interaction and focus. Fans rallied around her candor, but some lurked in comment sections, questioning why she moved more slowly on stage or prefaced her performance with nervous jokes. Misunderstanding breeds speculation, but it is Susan's resilience that kept her career alive. In 2018, she announced a new world tour aptly named Hope, her first solo series of live concerts in over a decade. Fans queued for tickets in cities from London to Los Angeles, hungry to witness the woman who believed in her own dreams when few others would. Yet whispers followed each standing ovation. Was that slower gait a sign of lingering medical concerns? Did she cancel rehearsals to seek therapy or rest? When Susan stepped onto that first stage in Edinburgh with a microphone in hand and tears in her eyes, the audience felt privilege and worry in equal measure. That night, she sang through pain, her voice soft but unwavering. She was no longer the shocked novice of 2009. She was a seasoned artist who had seen too much and refused to surrender her song. In the years since the Hope Tour, Susan has balanced public appearances with private pursuits. She recorded a duet album with a famed tenor, raising funds for mental health charities inspired by her own late admission. She guest-starred on a primetime cooking show, charming judges with her wit and revealing a surprising talent for patisserie. Beyond the spotlight, she returned home to West Lothian, Scotland, to reopen the B&B where she once worked, converting spare rooms into a cozy retreat for families and musicians. The walls are now decorated with her stage costumes, photos from television specials, and thank-you notes from guests who found comfort in sharing their own vulnerabilities. Susan has said that guiding travelers through their own healing spaces brings her a kind of peace that no arena can match. Later in 2023, rumors swirled that Boyle was preparing a memoir, a raw account of her rise from Dundonald to global stages. When her publisher confirmed the deal, anticipation spiked. Fans begged for behind-the-scenes revelations about her most private struggles, the health crisis that forced canceled tours, the emotional toll of sudden wealth, and the lifelong search for belonging. In early 2024, Boyle released 2 chapters online. They detailed the months she spent recovering from a spinal injury, describing days spent in a darkened room, the sharp sting of pain when she tried to walk, and the frustration of a voice temporarily silenced by injections. The excerpts went viral, trending across social platforms as readers expressed both sorrow and admiration for her unguarded honesty. Now, as the memoir unfolds, Susan Boyle's world has expanded beyond stages and recording studios into book tour venues and intimate literary salons. After those raw digital chapters went viral, she embarked on a string of author events across the UK and the United States, turning library halls into theaters of empathy. Booksellers watched in awe as ticketed readings sold out within minutes, each audience eager to hear her voice recite passages describing the long nights she spent recovering from spinal surgery or the ache of loneliness when the applause faded. Yet, in stark contrast to the glare of cameras that once captured every sequin costume, these gatherings have been disarmingly simple. Boyle sits in a plain wooden chair under soft spotlights, dressed in comfortable knits rather than rhinestones, and speaks with the same gentle timbre that once shook the walls of Britain's Got Talent. Listeners lean forward, clutching programs stamped with her autograph, connecting with a woman who traded the footlights for flickering candles, and proving that her story resonates as powerfully in prose as it ever did in song. Alongside her literary pursuits, Susan has quietly deepened her commitment to mental health advocacy, channeling her own experiences into action. In 2022, she founded the Dream Big Foundation, a nonprofit offering support groups for adults navigating late diagnoses of neurodivergent conditions. Where once she hesitated to speak about her Asperger's assessment, she now travels to conference panels in Dublin and Los Angeles, sharing insights on sensory overload and the liberating power of acceptance. Reports show that the foundation has grown from a small pilot program to a network spanning 5 countries, offering virtual counseling sessions for those who feel unseen or misunderstood. Boyle's presence on these calls transcends mere celebrity endorsement. She listens, she validates, and she offers practical tips for coping with anxiety. For many, the contrast between her global superstar status and her down-to-earth honesty has become the foundation's most potent draw, reminding supporters that vulnerability and strength can coexist in the same heart. Health-wise, the past 2 years have been a careful balancing act. In 2023, Susan publicly acknowledged persistent back pain that forced the postponement of several speaking engagements. Yet she refused to vanish into the background. Instead, she undertook a rigorous rehabilitation regimen, blending physiotherapy with gentle pilates and aquatic therapy sessions in her hometown pool. Videos of her emerging from the water, smiling, hair wet, muscles rippling under the chlorinated glow, have been shared by local news outlets and viewed millions of times online. She's become candid about the reality behind those viral clips. Days when pain flares so sharply she struggles to dress, contrasted with moments of triumph when she completes a full rehearsal without medication. Vocally, her instrument remains remarkably intact. Recordings from her recent studio sessions reveal that while her once soaring high notes have softened, her emotional expression has gained added depth. Each quiver in her voice now carries the weight of lived experience, proving that imperfection can be more compelling than virtuosity. In tandem with her philanthropic and health endeavors, Susan has embraced social media in surprisingly modern ways. After years of delegating her online presence to managers, she now personally curates a monthly live stream on Instagram and TikTok, inviting fans into her kitchen to bake shortbread or helping them vocalize dreams that once felt out of reach. These streams have become weekly rituals for many, blending nostalgia with real-time connection. She'll recall her first nervous auditions while teaching viewers how to fold pastry dough, each share button a small act of solidarity. The contrast is stark. No glitzy music videos or choreographed dance troupes, just Boyle and her rolling pin laughter echoing in an airy cottage kitchen. Yet the simplicity has rekindled her bond with an audience that first fell in love with her unvarnished authenticity. Comments flood in. "You taught me courage. Your voice still gives me chills." Or, "Thank you for showing me how to face my own stage." In these virtual living rooms, Susan's legacy isn't measured in feet of stage, but in the lives she touches one conversation at a time. Musically, 2025 has seen Boyle dip her toes into collaborative projects rather than solo comebacks. She joined forces with an up-and-coming songwriter in Nashville, lending her voice to a ballad called "Morning Light," which climbed into country pop charts on both sides of the Atlantic. The track's production rests on acoustic guitar and a subtle string quartet, framing Boyle's grained vocals against lyrics about renewal and quiet hope. Critics have praised the song as a late career triumph that honors her narrative arc. A woman who once dreamed of heroism in a French rebel's song now finds power in hushed confessionals. Meanwhile, she has also been mentorship judge on a spin-off show in Australia called Dreamers Unite, offering audition critiques with the warmth that once startled viewers on Britain's Got Talent. Contestants report being comforted rather than convicted, guided by a mentor whose own path was paved with doubt. Her advice is succinct and poetic. "Trust the pulse in your chest," she tells them. That tremor is truth. Despite this flurry of public-facing endeavors, the heart of Susan Boyle's life remains in Dundonald, West Lothian. Her restored B&B, christened Dream Cottage, has become a pilgrimage site for fans and travelers seeking solace. Visitors swap stories over tea in her living room, a cozy space of vintage armchairs and shelves lined with her childhood mementos, and sometimes wake to the soft strains of her humming in the kitchen. The contrast between global stardom and small-town hospitality could not be sharper. Overnight guests say it feels like staying in the home of a beloved aunt rather than a celebrity retreat. Boyle has said that these mornings, when she fixes porridge and shakes granules of cinnamon over fruit, ground her in a reality beyond book tours and live streams. It's here that she writes new lyrics on scraps of recycled paper and dreams up further chapters, both for her memoir and her life. So, where is Susan Boyle now? At 77, she occupies multiple roles: best-selling author, mental health advocate, mentor, part-time musician, and innkeeper. She splits her time between literary festivals, foundation conferences, and the quiet lanes of her village, each environment demanding different facets of her resilience. In an age where fame can be fleeting, Boyle has chosen not to chase the next big spotlight, but to cultivate lasting impact, one heartfelt speech, one guest room, one shared lyric at a time. As 2025 unfolds, she is working on a multimedia project that promises to combine storytelling with immersive soundscapes, an experimental arc that teases both her fans' curiosity and her own restless spirit. In every chapter she writes, in every note she sings, the message remains clear even after 16 years. Her greatest achievement is not a record label or ticket sale, but the unwavering belief that a single dream can echo across a world hungry for hope. Inspired by decades of unexpected triumphs, Susan Boyle has quietly set her sights on a new frontier: immersive storytelling. In early 2025, she announced an experimental partnership with a UK tech startup to develop Dreamspace, a virtual reality experience that allows fans to step into key moments of her life. Users don Oculus headsets and find themselves backstage at Britain's Got Talent in 2009. Spotlights spinning, audience breaths held. Then drift forward to the Hope Tour's opening night in Edinburgh, where Boyle's voice echoes around a digital cathedral of light. From there, the simulation guides them through corridors of her Malibu-inspired B&B, each door unlocking personal anecdotes or hidden audio diaries she recorded during late-night insomnia sessions. The contrast between her humble Chorley home and cathedral-like concert halls is no accident. It underscores the journey from shy childhood dreams to global stages, and it cements her legacy in a medium younger fans devour. Boyle insists her role isn't just as a celebrity avatar, but as a co-creator. She lent her own memories, voice memos, and personal photographs to the project, ensuring authenticity underpins every pixel of the experience. Meanwhile, back in West Lothian, Susan's relationship with her older sister, Elizabeth, remains a bedrock of emotional support. Elizabeth, who has shared Boyle's bedrooms, kitchens, and stage fright tears from the very beginning, manages Dream Cottage full-time, greeting guests with fresh, baked shortbread and tales of her superstar sister's early ambitions. Their bond is the beating heart of both the B&B and Susan's private life. Letters they wrote to one another as children now line a glass display cabinet in the lounge, each scribbled promise of success poignantly redacted by time and circumstance. At 75 and 80 respectively, the Boyle sisters now navigate fame together, tempering the glare of public attention with simple rituals. Morning tea on the garden bench, winter walks along misty lanes, evenings spent knitting or poring over letters from global visitors. These mundane routines, captured in serene Instagram reels, have drawn thousands of comments. Fans confess that watching Susan and Elizabeth share a pot of tea feels like peeking into their own family living rooms, a reminder that behind every icon is someone who needs a sister's embrace. Financially, the B&B has transformed from a passion project into a stable revenue stream that supports Boyle's philanthropic and creative pursuits. Dream Cottage's occupancy rate hovers around 90% year-round, fueled partly by themed weekends, Voices of Hope, retreats where guests gather for singing workshops, meditation sessions, and candid Q&As with Boyle herself. Each weekend fills within hours of announcement, commandingly proving that her appeal extends far beyond nostalgia. Room rates are modest, reflecting Susan's desire to keep the retreat accessible, yet the enterprise nets 6 figures annually, which Boyle reinvests into the Dream Big Foundation and her VR venture. Accountants report that the foundation's endowment has doubled since 2023, enabling the launch of a scholarship for neurodivergent artists and a mobile counseling unit that visits underserved rural communities. In effect, Boyle has alchemized her story into a self-sustaining ecosystem. The inn funds the foundation amplifies her public profile, and the public interest funds her new creative experiments. Unexpectedly, Susan has also ventured onto the silver screen, though not as an actress. In late 2024, a British filmmaker released a documentary titled Voice and Vision, a poetic portrait of Boyle's rise, triumphs, and setbacks. The film intercuts archival footage of her breakthrough audition with intimate present-day scenes at Dream Cottage, Susan measuring flour for scones, pausing to hum a refrain, then glancing wistfully at a family portrait. Premiered at the Edinburgh Film Festival, it earned standing ovations and critical acclaim for capturing the humanity behind her global persona. Boyle herself attended the gala screening, dressed in a simple cashmere sweater rather than stage finery, her eyes brimming as she watched herself on the big screen. The documentary has since been acquired by several streaming platforms, introducing Boyle's story to new generations at a time when nostalgia for early 2000s pop culture is at a premium. Health-wise, 2025 has been gentle but precautionary. After another minor flare-up of back pain in January, Susan paused live appearances for 2 months to complete an advanced rehabilitation program combining hydrotherapy, acupuncture, and mindfulness-based stress reduction. She credits this holistic regimen with restoring her stamina and voice clarity, enabling her to film the documentary's closing interview without relying on a teleprompter. Still, she acknowledges that every performance now carries an element of uncertainty, an echo of that 2009 audition where even her own belief was tentative. Rather than mask these vulnerabilities, Boyle has made them central to her narrative moving forward, arguing on public panels that candid conversations about aging bodies in performance art can dismantle youth-centric biases in entertainment. Her advocacy has already influenced casting directors and producers to reconsider roles for seasoned performers, opening doors for artists of all ages. In parallel with her streamed memoir readings and VR previews, Susan has made surprise live appearances in intimate venues. In March, she performed a secret set at a Glasgow jazz club, billed as a tribute to classic show tunes, only to reveal herself mid-song. Patrons assumed they were hearing a recording until that unforgettable voice filled the room, layered with subtle vibrata that spoke of decades lived rather than vibrato manufactured in studios. Critics praised the performance as a triumph of authenticity, a reminder that stagecraft can be as much about vulnerability as vocal power. That night's low-key concert sold out 2 days after tickets were quietly released, feeding online speculation about a full comeback tour, or at least more secret gigs that defy the formulaic expectations of arena shows. Perhaps most surprising of all, in April 2025, Boyle quietly returned to the recording studio for what she describes as own last album of original songs. Unlike past releases, this project is being written with grassroots songwriters discovered through her Dream Big Foundation, each collaborator bringing personal stories of adversity and hope. Recording has taken place in a refurbished barn adjacent to Dream Cottage, its wood-paneled walls offering natural acoustics and a sense of grounded intimacy. Boyle's goal isn't chart domination but legacy, a final collection that encapsulates her journey from orphan girl to global icon to compassionate mentor. The first single, Home in My Heart, is slated for release this summer and promises to marry her crystalline soprano with folk-inspired melodies and lyricism that reflect both struggle and sanctuary. As the world watches, Susan Boyle continues to defy expectations. At 77, she remains a walking study in contrasts, vulnerable yet indomitable, famous yet intimately connected to her roots. A global phenomenon who still finds magic in a cup of tea shared with her sister. In an era obsessed with reinvention and disruption, Boyle's story reminds us that true transformation often unfolds over decades, in small acts of courage rather than fleeting viral moments. So, where is Susan Boyle now? She is everywhere her story has ever been, in every echo of I Dreamed a Dream, in every guest sigh at Dream Cottage, in every user's gasp inside Dream Space. And she is heading forward, pen in hand, mic at her side, an open door always ready to welcome the next dreamer. Alongside the whispers of anticipation for Home in My Heart, Susan Boyle has launched a carefully curated series of songwriting retreats at Dream Cottage. Each retreat gathers aspiring lyricists, neurodivergent artists, and seasoned musicians under one roof. In the rustic barn studio warmed by wood fires, she guides participants through exercises that blend memoir writing with melodic improvisation. Attendees describe the experience as part masterclass, part healing circle. Boyle opens sessions by reading passages from her memoir, then invites each guest to share a personal challenge, transforming private vulnerability into communal inspiration. The barn's rough-hewn beams and aged floorboards echo with centuries of stories, reinforcing the album's theme that every life is composed of many voices, and every voice deserves to be heard. While shaping songs like Morning Light and Brighter Days, Boyle and her collaborators focus on contrast framing as a central narrative device. A verse might zoom in on childhood memories of damp Scottish mornings, then shift to the heat of stage lights in international arenas. These juxtapositions not only mirror her own trajectory, but also emphasize the universal human journey from doubt to self-discovery. As a mentor, she encourages co-writers to embrace imperfection, teaching them that raw honesty in a lyric can resonate more deeply than flawless vocal technique. She often reminds them that her own fortune soared only after she revealed her true self on Britain's Got Talent, never hiding her hands trembling around the microphone. Behind the creative collaboration lies the foundation's commitment to accessibility. Aspiring songwriters from underserved communities apply for scholarships that cover travel, lodging at Dream Cottage, and studio time. Boyle personally reviews each application, looking for authenticity, emotional depth, and a willingness to confront personal fears through art. Her criteria echo those used by talent shows and recording labels but are suffused with empathy rather than competition. She once told a panel, "I'm not looking for the next pop superstar. I'm seeking the next storyteller." This ethos has broadened the album's emotional scope, allowing contributions from a writer who fled domestic violence, another who survived a stroke, and a third navigating life after a bipolar diagnosis. Each collaborator's refrain finds its way into the final mix, creating a tapestry of voices that both honors Boyle's journey and amplifies new ones. Meanwhile, publicity around Home in My Heart has been measured and deliberate. Rather than saturating social media with billboard ads, Boyle's team released a short documentary teaser capturing candid moments in the barn. Her laughter as she tunes a guitar, her concentration as she scribbles lyrics, her tears when a collaborator sings a breakthrough line. The documentary leverages contrast framing by intercutting these intimate moments with archival footage of her first audition, evoking the same thrill that once rippled through living rooms worldwide. Viewers sense continuity between the shy schoolgirl in glasses and the award-winning artist with decades of experience, reinforcing Boyle's unique brand of authenticity. In an era when veteran performers often rely on nostalgia tours, Boyle's strategy is refreshingly forward-looking. She has declined offers for festival headline slots that insist on sets packed with only her greatest hits. Instead, she plans 4 sanctuary sessions in intimate venues across the UK, where she will unveil tracks from the new album alongside stripped-down renditions of fan favorites. Each session will be capped at 200 tickets, ensuring that audience members feel more like invited guests than mere ticket holders. Boyle insists these performances will be accompanied by spoken vignettes, short reflections on how each song emerged, what it meant to her, and why it matters to the listener. Early attendees who received advance invitations describe the ambience as part concert, part confessional, and part intimate gathering of old friends. Financially, Home in My Heart is projected to boost the Dream Big Foundation's endowment by at least 20%. Pre-orders from philanthropic patrons and music lovers alike already exceed expectations. Boyle has structured the deal so that a percentage of all album sales automatically flows into foundation programs. This structure extends her legacy beyond music, ensuring that every purchase becomes an investment in mental health advocacy and artistic mentorship. Major streaming platforms have agreed to host exclusive live listening events where fans can interact with Boyle via chat, further blurring the line between performer and community advocate. As the release date approaches, media coverage spotlights Boyle's refusal to retreat into retirement. Instead of portraying her as a fading star, journalists emphasize her evolution into a pioneer of inclusive art and technology. Interviews highlight her VR collaboration, songwriting retreats, scholarship programs, and advocacy work, painting a portrait of an artist whose influence now transcends chart positions. Discussion panels at publishing conferences debate how her memoir and album together create a multimedia narrative that redefines the memoir album genre. Storytelling that is at once literary, musical, and immersive. On a personal level, Boyle has maintained her daily rituals at Dream Cottage. Each morning she brews tea, sifts through letters from foundation participants, and revises her own writing. She takes long walks along misty paths, letting the stillness inform her creative decisions. In the barn studio, she pauses regularly to share shortbread and cinnamon tea with her sister Elizabeth, anchoring her in the simple joys that fuel her work. Fans who visit Dream Cottage often say that those moments of domestic routine provide a powerful contrast to the album's grandeur, reminding them that true artistry often springs from the tender rhythms of everyday life. In her forthcoming sanctuary sessions, Boyle plans to end every set with an invitation and open mic call for audience members to share a brief story or lyric. These moments are designed to honor the countless voices that her own journey has uplifted. By reciprocating the generosity that first propelled her to fame, she turns every listener into a partner in storytelling. In doing so, she reframes success not as applause or sales figures, but as the shared human impulse to be heard, to connect, and to dream without limits. As pre-orders skyrocket and first singles ripple across streaming charts, Susan Boyle's impact again underscores the power of contrast framing. Critics praise Home in My Heart for weaving childlike wonder with adult resolve. A verse about chasing kites in Scottish fields followed by a chorus that rises like a rebel's anthem. Music bloggers note how the album's intimate instrumentation, finger-picked acoustic guitars, muted brass, harp whispers, creates an atmosphere more confessional than concert hall. In a world awash with auto-tuned perfection, Boyle's warm vibrato and occasional breath catches feel refreshingly human. Listeners describe being drawn into moments of shared vulnerability, a trembling admission of personal flaws followed by a triumphant reach for hope. Such juxtapositions mirror Boyle's own life, a shy provincial girl who would become the queen of global stages by daring to reveal rather than conceal her imperfections. As Home in My Heart rolls out, fan communities online ignite with creativity. On one subreddit, contributors dissect lyric snippets, comparing lines about frosted mornings to childhood memories of walking to school in damp, socked shoes. Elsewhere, TikTok users choreograph interpretive dances set to new tracks, spotlighting the contrast between vintage Boyle footage, her 2009 audition in oversized glasses, and current studio sessions showing silver-streaked hair and a knowing smile. Fan art multiplies, from watercolor portraits merging Boyle's past and present selves to digital collages juxtaposing BGT stage lights with candlelit corners of Dream Cottage. In countless comments, the refrain repeats, "She teaches us that coming home to ourselves is the greatest journey." Boyle's team monitors these reactions not to chase trends, but to understand the deeper heartbeat of her audience. A community bound not by genre allegiance, but by shared experience of aspiration and acceptance. One particularly moving tribute comes from a listener named Aisha, a lifelong music teacher who posted a video recounting how Boyle's original audition renewed her faith in students labeled slow or awkward. In that clip, Aisha's voice cracks as she describes playing I Dreamed a Dream for a classroom of teenagers hesitant to embrace their quirks. Watching Boyle's sustained career gives Aisha a model for her own convictions. That every voice, no matter how tentative, can become a beacon for others. Stories like this circulate on charity websites where proceeds from album sales fund arts programs in under-resourced schools. Boyle's scholarship recipients share how hearing her raw vocals on new tracks emboldened them to audition for orchestras or school plays. The cyclical nature of inspiration. Mentor becoming muse to a new generation cements Boyle's legacy as a catalyst rather than simply a star. Meanwhile, media outlets have spotlighted the eco-sensitive packaging of the physical album, recycled paper sleeves embedded with wildflower seeds, so fans can plant blooms in homage to the singer who found beauty in barren fields. Environmental writers laud Boyle for integrating sustainability into her art, praising the symbolic gesture that aligns with her themes of renewal. Interviews reveal that the seed paper concept came from one of her dream space developers, who suggested blending her Scottish roots with a forward-looking ethos. Boyle immediately embraced the idea, seeing it as another form of storytelling, each sprout a testament to perseverance. In post-release discussions, fans document their seed planting photos under hashtags like #BloomWithSusan, creating a mosaic of gardens that echo her personal growth and collective resilience. On the business side, streaming platforms report that new tracks by Boyle have among the highest completion rates of any release in the catalog of veteran artists. Industry analysts point to her transparent marketing, no hidden fees, clear charitable ties, and authentic social media streams as a blueprint for reinvigorating legacy acts. Executives note that Boyle's success challenges assumptions that only youth-driven artists can dominate playlists. Instead, they see that tapping into genuine narratives and purposeful collaborations can reshape engagement metrics. Case studies of Home in My Heart are already entering digital marketing curricula, demonstrating how emotional authenticity trumps viral gimmicks. Tour promoters, witnessing the album's reverberations, express interest in expanding the Sanctuary sessions into a limited story and song tour across North America. The proposed format would mirror UK intimate shows, 150 seats per city, each accompanied by candid anecdotes, Q&A segments, and open mic invitations. Boyle's team remains cautious, weighing the physical demands on her health against the emotional payoff for both artist and audience. If scheduled, the tour could become a traveling echo of Dream Cottage, small-scale, immersive, and designed to foster personal connections. Even in the planning stage, the concept has ignited excitement among promoters who view it as a radical departure from arena spectacles. Proof that smaller canvases can yield deeper artistic strokes. In academic circles, Susan Boyle's career arc and her recent multimedia endeavors have sparked research into life creativity and neurodiversity in the arts. Papers at the 2025 International Conference on Music and Mental Health examine how her openness about Asperger's diagnosis has contributed to broader acceptance of neurodivergent musicians. Psychologists cite Boyle's narrative as illustrating how authentic self-disclosure can enhance both well-being and public reception, challenging the stigma that often sidelines artists who don't conform to neurotypical norms. Speech therapists and vocal coaches reference her adaptive techniques for maintaining vocal health post-injury, framing her practices as case studies in sustainable singing methods for aging performers. As summer solstice approaches, plans for Boyle's multimedia exhibition at a Scottish art gallery take shape. Titled Dreams in Dialogue, the exhibit will blend interactive VR pods, dream space stations, framed lyric manuscripts, costume displays from various career stages, and recorded interviews projected onto paneled walls. Visitors will step through each phase of her journey, ending in a reflective gallery where they can record their own dream statements on sticky notes posted alongside Boyle's original audition critiques. Curators describe the installation as a living time capsule, paying homage to the woman who taught countless people that dreams deserve an audience. Boyle herself plans to attend the opening day, wearing a simple print dress and her signature gentle smile, ready to greet guests not as a queen of song but as a fellow traveler on the path of becoming. Now, as Susan Boyle prepares to release Home in My Heart, the chapters we have traced, from a shy audition at age 48 to the immersive Dreamspace VR and the singer's restorative retreats at Dream Cottage, converge into a single portrait of an artist who has chosen depth over spectacle and authenticity over fleeting trends. Her legacy, built on the shock of a perfect audition and cultivated through decades of unwavering honesty, now takes form in gardens sprouting from seeded album sleeves, VR experiences that resurrect pivotal moments, and songwriting retreats that transform personal pain into communal purpose, proving that the most enduring art emerges when vulnerability is embraced rather than hidden behind polished fad-aids. As critics and academics dissect the album's confessional textures alongside VR installations that allow fans to step through her memories, Boyle's impact ripples beyond music into mental health, technology, and community building, redefining fame as a platform to cultivate empathy, foster creativity, and remind each of us that our stories, no matter how small or quiet, deserve to be heard and honored. Across continents, from sold-out sanctuary sessions in London to surprise jazz club concerts in Glasgow, audiences witness a woman who has mastered the art of contrast, alternating between hushed reflections on personal scars and jubilant crescendos of resilience, forging a bond that transcends age, geography, and genre labels. Because what truly resonates is not a flawless voice, but a fearless heart willing to share its tremors. In quiet moments between retreats and recording sessions, Boyle still tends her own garden of memories, clipping fresh blooms from patches she planted herself and arranging them beside vintage photographs that chart her extraordinary odyssey, reminding us that the seeds of greatness are often sown in the soil of normalcy and nurtured by gentle routines, like brewing tea at dawn or stitching lyrics into the margins of an old notebook. Each new project, whether a VR world, a VR album experience, or a songwriting refuge, embodies Boyle's belief that art can heal by mirroring our own stories back to us, creating a space where listeners and participants alike can confront their shadows and celebrate the simple act of being heard. Her willingness to pivot, from chart-topping albums to community-driven creative labs, marks an evolution that many artists never attempt, demonstrating how resilience, humility, and strategic innovation can turn a single viral audition into a lifelong dialogue with generations craving both entertainment and meaningful connection. As interviews reveal, Boyle still grapples with nerves before every live appearance, a reminder that even icons with millions of records sold face the same tremors and self-doubt that bind us all to our humanity, and it is precisely this shared vulnerability that has allowed her to endure in an industry notorious for discarding aging stars. Indeed, while some may ask, where is Susan Boyle now? As if she had vanished into obscurity, the answer lies not in a single location but in every life she has touched, from virtual reality explorers and retreat participants to charity beneficiaries and young dreamers who found courage in her unfiltered presence. Looking ahead, her unfinished projects promise to evolve into enduring legacies. A final album woven with stories of adversity, thriving community hubs in quiet Scotland, and pioneering multimedia experiences that will carry Boyle's ethos of empathy and authenticity far into the future, proving that a single voice, fearlessly shared, can outlast both time and trends. As summer festivals beckon and her dream space metrics draw attention, Boyle remains grounded in the belief that her truest achievements will not be measured in streaming numbers, but in the quiet transformations of individuals who discover through her example that every voice deserves its moment. In interviews, she laughs about the unintended consequences of viral fame, sleepless nights spent fielding fan mail from strangers, and notes how that one audition reshaped her life, proving that an honest moment of courage can ignite movements of hope long after the stage lights dim. Ultimately, Boyle's journey reminds us that success need not be confined to fleeting chart positions or awards. It can be measured in simple human gestures, like opening your home to a stranger or offering an empathetic ear. In the end, where is Susan Boyle now? Transforms into who she has become. A trailblazer who channels the shock of her first note into decades of service and creativity, demonstrating that fame, when wielded with compassion, can forge pathways of healing for countless others. And as Susan Boyle continues her odyssey, immersive art, intimate concerts, philanthropic outreach, and moments of quiet grace, she invites us all to remember that our own stories, no matter how fragile, bear the potential to inspire, uplift, and endure beyond any stage or spotlight.